So the house is finally quiet. Nobody's calling your name, and absolutely nothing is asking for you. You're completely exhausted, right? But going to bed just feels strangely unfair. Like falling asleep would close the door on the only hour of the day that actually felt completely yours. Well, that tension you're feeling? It's often called revenge bedtime procrastination.
Think about your daily life as a crowded house. From the literal second you wake up, every single room holds some kind of responsibility. Work needs an answer. The household needs your attention. Someone, somewhere, needs you to make a decision. Your screen just keeps lighting up with another request. And you just move from room to room doing what the day requires of you, while your own personal time shrinks into the smallest room in the house. But then, eventually, the noise begins to fade. Messages slow down. Doors close. The kitchen is finally still. And it's like, at the very end of that long hallway, a hidden room just sort of opens up. It belongs to no deadline, no chore, and absolutely no one else's expectations. You can read, scroll, watch a show, or honestly, just sit inside that quiet. The problem, though, is that this hidden room only seems to appear when your body is already desperately asking for sleep. Now, when we look at the research, bedtime procrastination basically means going to bed later than you intended, specifically when no outside circumstance is forcing that delay. So it's very different from working a night shift, caring for a child, handling an emergency, or even just having a naturally late schedule that still lets you get enough rest. It's also completely different from insomnia, where you're lying in bed but unable to sleep. Bedtime procrastination is simply that gap between the bedtime you meant to keep and the one you actually keep. You'll often hear the word revenge added to it, which is really just an informal way to frame the emotion behind it. For some of us, staying awake almost feels like taking back time that the day never bothered to offer. So this delay isn't necessarily a rejection of sleep itself. Instead, it's a resistance to ending the only part of the day that truly feels like it's personally owned by you. But, this isn't the only path into the late night. Sometimes that delay is completely deliberate. You know the hour is late, but that silence just feels way too valuable to give up. Other times, it's a bit less conscious. You just open one more chapter, watch one more episode, or scroll one more page, and the clock just moves without even noticing. And qualitative research actually backs this up, finding that bedtime delay can take a few different forms, which matters because not every late night carries the exact same motive. And that leaves us with a quieter, kind of profound question. If your body physically wants rest, why can closing out the day feel so much like losing something? Well, one possible answer is that the night is holding a lot more than just entertainment for you. It might be holding privacy, freedom, a sense of pleasure, or even just the simple, rare experience of not being needed by anyone. Ending the night can really feel like handing that sacred space back before you've had nearly enough of it. For some people, something called role overload might also be a huge part of the picture. To put that into perspective, there was this cross-sectional study looking at active duty service members, and it found that greater role overload was directly associated with more revenge bedtime procrastination. Now, just to be clear, that finding doesn't prove that feeling overloaded inherently causes the behavior, and obviously a military sample doesn't automatically represent every single adult, but it definitely supports the idea that juggling a really crowded set of roles can be connected to delaying sleep in certain groups. Your chronotype can complicate the picture too. Some people just naturally feel a lot more alert later in the evening, and when an evening-oriented internal clock clashes with an early work or family schedule, the result can easily look like procrastination, even when that person is really just dealing with a genuine mismatch in timing. It's just another reminder of why we really shouldn't reduce every late bedtime to laziness or poor discipline. It's usually a lot more complex than that. Research has also linked bedtime procrastination with self-regulation and, unsurprisingly, poor sleep outcomes. But those associations don't magically create one simple explanation. You can completely understand the cost of staying awake and still find that present, quiet moment way more emotionally rewarding than tomorrow's benefit. It's like your brain is saying, the hidden room is available now. That rested morning, that's still hours away. But unfortunately, that cost can arrive pretty quickly. A shortened night can leave the very next day feeling more tired, foggy, irritable, or just generally harder to focus through. And then, the following evening begins with even less energy and an even greater hunger for a few hours that finally feel free. It becomes this cycle, and the pattern can just keep repeating without anyone ever consciously deciding to create it.
Now, this absolutely does not mean every late night is a problem. An occasional evening spent reading, celebrating, working on something meaningful, or just enjoying some quiet time isn't automatically bedtime procrastination. The pattern only really becomes important to notice when your intended bedtime keeps moving, your sleep keeps shrinking, and your daytime life keeps paying the price for it.
So, the gentlest question to ask yourself might not be, how do I force myself to go to bed? Instead, maybe it's, does any part of my day belong to me before I'm already exhausted? Asking that isn't a magic cure for every sleep problem, but it does shift the focus away from blaming yourself towards simply observing your routine. Perhaps that hidden room doesn't need to disappear completely. Perhaps it just needs a door that can open a little earlier in the day, before exhaustion becomes the price of admission. Now, if sleep difficulties or daytime exhaustion keep interfering with your daily life, a qualified healthcare professional can help sort out what may be happening. If quiet, source-grounded stories like this help you notice what your days are carrying, you can subscribe to Recholera. Another question waits nearby. Can a day filled with constant choices make the final decision to go to bed feel harder? That is where decision fatigue enters the next story. For tonight, let the house become quiet without asking the night to give you everything the day forgot.